Hello, patrons. I'm Michael, and welcome to Beyond the Screenplay, the podcast where each episode we do a conversational deep dive analysis into a film. Today we are talking about Wicked for Good, the 2025 film, screenplay by Winnie Holtzman and Dana Fox, based on the musical by Stephen Schwartz, which was based on the book by Gregory Maguire. The film was also directed by John M. Chu. I'm here, of course, with the Beyond the Screenplay team, Trisha Rand.
Hello, everyone.
Brian Bittner.
Hello, hello.
And Alex Calleros.
Hi.
And we're joined by you. We are doing a live stream recording. So this is being streamed to Patreon and on the YouTube channel also. But this is live. So if you're in the chat, leave some thoughts, respond, share thoughts. We'll try to incorporate it. And if you're listening later, you should be able to go to Patreon, play it back, and the chat should play with you. So you can relive the magic that we are about to experience. Okay, so let's dive in. So Wicked for Good. So to kind of recap my relationship with Wicked, I had technically seen the play a long time ago, remembered nothing, and went into the movie kind of cautiously optimistic. I had heard good things, and the first movie, and I was blown away by Wicked Part 1. I absolutely loved it. I was moved to tears. The passion in the filmmaking, the performances, the set design, just everything about it was just so great and so smooth and like swept me up on this whole journey. And I remember thinking when it ended, like, oh my God, they're setting up so much, but also like what can happen next? Like, I don't know that I was like felt that feeling a whole lot, like I needed more story. And that's something I definitely want to talk about, is like what parts of the arc were left unfinished and what happens to those arcs in part 2. And so going into part 2, I was excited to see where this was all going. And I think in part 2, the passion and the filmmaking is still there. The performances are still really, really great. There's some really great musical numbers. I feel like the There's No Place Like Home number made me kind of emotional. I think the subject matter of loving a place that doesn't love you back, and that it seems like, you know, for all intents and purposes, it shouldn't be fighting for it, but it's your home and like you're gonna fight for it, damn it. Like that's
a new song, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh,
It's a new
interesting.
song for this movie, yeah.
Oh, okay. You guys will have to talk about that more later, because
Okay.
it felt very of this moment to me in a lot of ways, and was very touching, I think. So yeah, there were a lot of things that I really liked about this second one, but I do think narratively there are some pretty big bumps, and I think it's kind of weird because it seems like this is what, as I understand it, a relatively faithful adaptation of the musical. Like, not a lot was changed for the movie. And so, okay, we're going to go to you, Trisha, and you can clear up a lot of this.
Okay.
But yeah, essentially, I think there is some like character motivation stuff, plot motivation stuff, theme motivation things that kind of got muddy, and I got lost, and it at times even felt a little bit like a mess. And so I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts, hear what is the same from the play and not, because it feels like it wasn't the movie's fault. It feels like there's some story problems. And I think a lot of theatrical plays that have an act 2, you know, act 1, act 2, the second act is often not as fun. I feel like it's hard. It's a harder lift in some ways, of like doing that. The second part of certain arcs is just not as fun as the first half. And I was feeling that, but it also felt like there were just choices made that really, I think a lot of it comes down to trying to bend it to plug directly into the Wizard of Oz. Some of those bendings stretched too far for me. Some of it was fun. Like, I didn't know the Tin Man and the Lion. Like, I didn't know those people were going to be in this. And so when I started to see like, oh, that guy, he's the Tin Man. Whoa. The first time I was like, that's cool. But then it was like, but where is this going and why? And what does it mean? And so I have some story problems with Wicked for Good. But as an oral visual experience, it was still cool. And I still like the actors and stuff. But there's some bumps. Trisha, what are your thoughts?
Whew, I have so many. Overall, I had a fun time at the movies. And we saw it in IMAX. I saw it with you guys. It was really fun. And it was like, kind of what you want from a theatrical experience in 2025. And I still felt that. And the magic of seeing these characters back, hearing the music, seeing, this spectacular, absolutely spectacular costume design, the production design, just truly ridiculous. Just a feast for the eyes, and the performances are amazing. The actors are in such command of their craft. It's just very, very impressive on a number of levels. I assumed I was going to have story problems with it because I have story problems with the play. And in sort of Broadway lore, Wicked, the second half of it is a bummer. Like everyone kind of knows that the second half of Wicked, and you're right that is true of a lot of musicals, but Wicked is like especially notorious for having like kind of a letdown of a second act. Like you have the curtain dropper of Defying Gravity, and then you're just kind of left with like, what am I doing here? March of the Witch Hunters? Like who wants this? No one. And so they were handed, to your point a second ago, is like, who is it their fault? I don't know, but they were handed a very tricky thing to do. I think actually they made some really smart choices in the adaptation, and we can get back to them. I was not aware that they were going to frame Wicked for Good as being Glinda's story. So it's such a sharp focus on Glinda in the way that, like, if you look at the first half as being Elphaba's arc, they really tried to do that with Glinda in this, which I wasn't ready for. The marketing didn't prepare me for that. And, they've added some material here in the relationship between Glinda and Elphaba, and Glinda's arc is much more prominent. You have this Girl in the Bubble song. That's also new.
Okay. Interesting.
But not being ready for that, I wasn't hooked into it right away. And so what I was left with in the first half of Wicked for Good was feeling like I was totally missing Elphaba. I didn't know what anybody's goals were. I didn't know what the narrative trajectory of the thing was, other than like, well, Dorothy's going to show up here in a couple of minutes, and like this whole situation is going to just have to like, get tied up as quickly as possible. And to be clear, in the play, I think it all gets tied up too quickly. And so they are trying to let it breathe a little bit here and let the emotional moments land, not always effectively. And some of it, because there isn't the narrative meat to what's going on, I think it feels like padding, when I think it feels like padding in a negative way, when I believe what I'm seeing is an earnest effort to make the narrative richer, but instead feels kind of like it's spinning its wheels. So that is overall my feeling. I think you are right that there are serious story problems here. It's also, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say this at the top, it is so goofy. Like, I can't, the tone of it, we got to get back to, because it's so self-serious by comparison to the first half. The first half is light. It's fun. Glinda's swinging from a chandelier. Everyone's making snarky comments at school. It's like this really fun romp in so many ways. And then we're in the second half, and it's like, oh boy, we got some fascism everywhere. We got some animal subjugation. We're like doing some torture. Also, it's a PG movie, but we're doing torture, I guess. And no one's saying anything fun.
Torture's fine. It's just sex and swear words that aren't.
I have lots of thoughts there too.
Yeah.
But again, the tone is really self-serious and almost overwrought. And then you're going to like, and then here's Fiero with the scarecrow face. And like, I don't know. It's goofy. Those elements from the original Wizard of Oz, I don't know if they work at all. And like, again, whose fault is that? Gregory Maguire's maybe, but it's a real puzzle, and I don't know if they cracked it here. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a lot there that we need to come back to and dive into more. 'Cause I'm sure we all have many thoughts. But first, Brian, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about these movies where they shot like two movies back to back, and like how the second, like what you get from that. Sometimes you get wildly different experiences from that sometimes. And I was like, on the scale of like Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End is like a 5 and Return of the King is a 10. I was like, this is like a Matrix Revolutions 0.5 for me. I would like, it actually kind of made me sad because I feel like the first movie is something where I see the trailer and I'm like, oh, this isn't for me. I'll see it and I'm interested in it, but it's not, I know it's not for me. And then the movie is so good that I'm like, oh, this is for me now. Like, this is just like, this changed what for me can be, right? In the way that Barbie did. Not as much as Barbie did, but in that same kind of like, oh, I didn't think this would be like something I actually like really, really loved. And this movie was just like, it just bummed me out. It was visually murky. I was like, it's like, look, grayish green and grayish pink. I was just like, wasn't the first movie kind of colorful? Like, and narratively, it was weird. Trisha, you said like it's going to be Glinda's story, and I had that feeling at the beginning, and then it just kind of wasn't. I was like, is there a protagonist to this movie? I'm not sure. And I just felt it, like everything felt so off to me in so many ways that eventually I just kind of got like thrown out of it like a lot. I was weirdly, Trisha, the way you were talking, I was just like, oh man, it made me think of Zack Snyder, where it's like, we're going to be really, really dark and really, really silly at the same time. And it's like, I don't know that you can do both. And the first movie was like, and obviously the story of the second movie is very different from the story of the first movie in terms of like what it's trying to do tonally and stuff. But the first movie is like light and fluffy in a way that like works really, really well because of how well it's done. And this movie felt like it was trying to do darker stuff. Like, so this, each of these movies is twice as long as the act of the show that it's based on, right? You have a lot of time to do things. And like the moment that just made my soul drop out of my pants was when it was just like, hey, I think my sister's in trouble. Like, oh yeah, I guess she's dead. Oh, look, there's a girl with braids. She's going that way. Do you want to have a wand fight? Let's have like a silly like wand fight. And I was like, your sister just died. Like how on earth does this 2 hour and 40 whatever minute movie not have time to like mourn your sister for like 5 seconds at least, right? And in musical theater terms, musicals do this a lot where it's kind of like, we got to go. So it's like, this thing happened, that sucked, oh my gosh, crazy, but we got to get to the next song, we got to go. You have time here. When you're adapting a musical to a movie, you have time to do movie things. The first movie felt like it was being a movie. This movie felt like it was doing like musical theater logic, where we're just going to kind of like, a character's going to start singing now. It's not really motivated. It's just going to happen. And then we're going to just like chill here for 5 minutes until we're ready to move on to the next thing. In the first movie, everything felt more motivated to me. I was weirdly thinking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood versus Inglourious Bastards, which I talked about when we talked about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It was like, if you've never heard of a Nazi, Inglourious Bastards in the first 20 minutes is like, this is what that is. Cool? Got it? Great. We're going to show you a movie now. More people know about Nazis than the Manson murders, like the details of the Manson murders. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is like, we're just going to assume you know all these things, and then we're just going to do a movie. And like, hopefully by the end, you understand that like, this is not what really happened. Have a nice day, right? It doesn't give you any. And also like the characters who we set up to be the bad people are not even them. They're not even the people that are going to be like at the end. But like Wicked felt like, if you've never seen Wizard of Oz, you can kind of just watch Wicked and like it's kind of okay, right?
Totally.
And also we talked about how in that sort of fractal way, Wicked itself could just be a prequel to Wizard of Oz. Like you 100%. End at Defying Gravity, boom, start Wizard of Oz. Like that's all you need, right? This movie felt like, boy, I hope you know the first movie really well. I hope you know Wizard of Oz really well. Like it didn't feel like a standalone anything. It felt like it was trying to shove itself between the first movie and Wizard of Oz. And in all of that was not successful at being a movie at all. Just like a standalone piece of something, right? I enjoyed things, but like overall, by the time I walked out, I was just kind of upset. So that's
you
me
hit it
venting
really
all
well.
of
I
those
didn't know
things.
you were like in a fugue state.
Yeah, I was behind you at least.
Yeah, I think that you touched on a lot of things there that we'll get into. Someone in the comments also said, the Cam TV says that it felt both rushed and dragged out at the same time, and I think
Right.
that's
Yeah.
accurate. And it is. There are several scenes. The witch fight, like you mentioned, felt like, well, we're doing a lot of turns really fast, like far too fast. The Nessa scene also that ends
So
with the
much
Tin
happens
Man.
in like 3 minutes
Right.
with
Yeah.
Nessa. I'm like,
And so, we can talk about it more, but I do think the sort of like the fast and slow of it was strange. And the Wizard of Oz of it all really feels like it's constraining it. And it's almost like suffering in some ways from being so good. Like Wicked Part 1 is just so good and knocks it out of the park that I feel like the contrast between the two is
Right.
illuminated even more. So yeah, we'll get into that.
Oh
further.
yeah. Also, yeah, I think you just mentioned it quick. Like, guess what? I'm your dad. It doesn't really matter, but like, I'm your dad.
That was
that's
wild.
wild.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah.
like there were like there was a different man in the flashback in the first movie, so now it's just Jeff Goldblum. Like I'm pretty sure we see it.
No, you don't see his
No,
face.
we don't
but
see
you
his
actually
face.
hear Jeff Goldblum's voice. I mentioned that in the first episode. And
okay.
Trisha was like, "I know what you're getting at," and I was like, "We'll talk about it in a
Interesting.
year."
That's
But we're not going to talk about it in a year because it doesn't matter at all. So
that's interesting. Yeah.
Nope.
For
Yeah.
some reason, it's very good filmmaking because I thought for sure I saw that guy's face.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, so yeah, we'll get into all this, but first, Alex, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, Brian, you mentioned seeing the trailer for Wicked Part 1 and being like, oh yeah, this isn't for me, and then seeing the movie and being blown away. And I had the exact same experience because I think when you see snippets of these movies in a trailer, my cynical mind goes to, this looks like a CGI blah fest. And they are doing this. They're going to create a whole new IP. They're going to make it the Wicked IP, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz IP, all the spin-offs.
The theme park rides are already being made.
Yeah, so
they actually are.
It just like, it looked like that. It just looked like, yeah, here is the first product in the line of products. And then Wicked Part 1 was such a delight. And I did leave the theater like elated. I was defying gravity. It was, I was bought into like the musical cheesiness of it all. Like I was feeling it.
Alex just walking down a dark like alleyway at night, like ah!
and I think there are so many things that come together to create that kind of a I feel high walking into the movie theater experience. It starts with the script and just good characters and good writing, but also there's a lot of little things that come together: the editing, the flow, even the fact that this first movie takes place kind of in these grounded places. Like we're at Shiz for a long time, and you can feel that we're like on a set, and I like the world of Shiz. And then we go to the Emerald City, and I like that world, and it's got a great introduction, and it also feels like I feel like I'm in an amazing set. This movie is just hopping all over the place. Like we're talking about, the tone is hopping all over the place. Even because we're never grounded in one place for very long, I don't sink into that almost like Harry Potter magic that I felt in the first movie. And so there's just like, there's all these layers that were like working in harmony in Part 1 that for all these reasons kind of outside of the creator's control just can't happen in Part 2. And it was really disconcerting for me because I rewatched Part 1 recently. I'm like, yep, I still love it, and it's a great ride. And even though, like, when it starts off with the what's the first song called? No One Mourns the Wicked.
Yeah.
When I was easing into that movie, Ariana Grande's like falsetto during that, didn't love, and it felt very musical in kind of an annoying way. But then as soon as I got to Shiz and the movie is moving through that kind of Shiz experience, like there's a flow to it that it is kind of ineffable, and there's a momentum. Like every musical number leads into a scene, leads into a turn, and it just feels like we're on a ride the whole time. This one felt like very stop start. And like you were talking about, I think all of you were talking about, I never know kind of, where is the plot going? What should I expect to happen next so I can be surprised when something different happens? I was just kind of more passive and just like waiting to see what happens. And then I think the final thing that is once again outside of the creator's control to some degree is like, I think all the best songs are in the first half of the show.
They really
like
are.
all the best songs. And like I was listening to the soundtrack again, and it's like I like all the songs, like all of them in Part 1. I don't know that any song in part 2 I care to like listen to much. Like For Good has kind of a good hook and stuff.
We're good.
Yeah, it's like For Good, sure. Even the like big Alphaba song like has like moments that I'm like, ooh, that sounds really cool, like for that part. And then it's like that part's over, and I'm like, and it's kind of anyway.
I have to say,
yeah.
I did feel intense vindication because No Good Deed, the song I
Yeah,
think you're talking
No Good
about, has always been my favorite song from the second half of Wicked. And it is the one where everybody in our theater applauded when it was over.
Yes.
And I was like,
Yeah.
that's right. That's right. No Good Deed is right here for
And
you. It's so good.
It's playing that in the trailers. No Good Deed and For Good are the only two songs they like highlight.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I haven't seen any of the
in like
trailers,
the multiple
but
trailers. Those are the two they always highlight.
fascinating.
Anyway, so it's that weird thing where like if so much of your best content is in part 1, part 1's going to be great, and part 2's going to be a real challenge. And so yeah, I feel for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still feel like they made the hell out of the movie. Like I wonder how much time played a role too. Like, you know, they shot both together, but doing post-production on a movie is not a short thing. And having to turn around a movie in a year, less than a year, because there's visual effects, there's all like, I don't think that did them any favors either. Like, probably having more time would have helped in some ways.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, part of the ineffable polish that I identify in part 1 is probably a result of time. You know, like you don't get to a movie that flows that beautifully, where everything feels pitch perfect, even like rhythmically feels pitch perfect, without a lot of iteration. And this does feel like more like an early cut. Like something about it, just as an editor, it feels like, oh, we didn't do a smoothing pass. Like we're still workshopping this.
Yeah, time, absolutely. Like that's the thing I kept coming back to, like last night, talking about it with my partner and like thinking about it today. I was just like, it feels like a rushed second half, where it's like I needed another year to cook, whether it was we film them separately or we just have more post-production, whatever it is, you know, it just felt like it was, and again, that's why I'm like, even visually, it felt like the first movie, like we talked about with the first movie, like everything felt so, you know, I think Michael, you mentioned where you're like, oh, of course, like that sound effect happens when like she flips her hair, or like this little beat, like everything was so on. In this movie, to me, felt like the opposite of that in terms of just like the care and the like specificity of it all.
Yeah, like I feel like this For Good is what I assumed seeing the original movie's trailer. Like I assumed it would be a well-made, you know, passable blockbuster production of a musical with like a couple good songs, and I'll go and see it, it'll be fine. And like that's what this movie was for me, and that's what I expected from the first movie. And all the things you're talking about, Brian, all the care and love and little touches that come with time, like elevated it to this next level thing that I wasn't expecting from Hollywood in 2025.
Yeah, well, so and let's dive into some of the story stuff, and I'm curious, Trish, also to hear about like, you know, what is similar, what is different from the play, but also, yeah, my understanding is that the play has issues here too, and is different from the book, which is, you know, much darker and has
extremely different.
yeah, very different things. And so there is also this weird like adaptation twist on an adaptation twist of a thing that's happening. But yeah, I'm curious maybe to start with, what are things that are different from the play that you can remember? Hope you enjoyed this preview clip. To continue the conversation and listen to the entire episode, head over to the Beyond the Screenplay Patreon. The link is in the show notes.